That is well packaged. But before I bring out this lovely package, I'll just take a peep at his personality, and I'll do that with you. Let's see.
Mr. Akin Oke, a seasoned management consultant with over 20 years experience across key institutional reforms and governance in both the public and private sectors. A native of Ibadan, Oyo State, Mr. Oke obtained a BSc in Zoology in 1992 from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Still from the same university, he obtained a postgraduate diploma in financial management in 1999 and also a master's degree in business administration in the year 2004. He is currently pursuing a doctorate degree in organizational leadership. Mr. Akin Oke has undergone several training courses at home and abroad. He has served as consultant on many programs and to several establishments, some of which include technical advisor to the Senior Special Assistant to the President, National Coordinator Service Delivery Initiative Servicom Office, Canada Funds for Local Initiatives, CFLI, among others. A distinguished intellectual and service delivery expert, Mr. Akin Oke has several researches, presentations, and publications under his belt. He has also received many awards for his outstanding performance. He's happily married with children. In our 15-minute studio today is an executive coach, public sector management strategist, and the Executive Director Center for Sustainable Leadership, Mr. Akin Oke.
Okay, you have it, Mr. Akin Oke, seated with me, and your first love is zoology. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now talking about zoology, I tried to ask you just behind the camera.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
A long time ago. All right, you studied zoology.
Yes.
And then now you're doing human management, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true.
How did you get this turnaround?
I think my pathway was kind of, I would say divinely ordained. Because at the end of the zoology degree, I came out like most graduates, and you think you are God's gift to humanity, only to find out that you really don't have any skills. Okay. And I had the good fortune of being mentored by a senior friend who said to me, hey, you guys, I was sitting at home with his brother, and he said, you guys are just finished school, you can't just be hanging around, come with me to the office. And he introduced me to computers, and from there I discovered that I had other skills, other innate gifts that I had not explored, on which zoology, wasn't going to help me to do at the time. So that was how I veered off into IT, and then into management, and then today, building people, being an executive coach, helping organizations to do better at what they do.
You know, when I was reading up about you talked a lot about developing this civil society, and I'm wondering, what does that mean?
Well, I came to a point, after supporting several organizations and working as well as a professional, that things need to change. And if it's going to change, we as people need to be engaged more with governance. We need to engage on the level of providing those things that individuals within organizations, within states must do. And part of that is owning up to the responsibility that we have a reason to be here, and we must engage with this process in a more constructive way than we've done at the moment.
All right, research is a strong point for you.
That's true.
A lot of people seem to think that the young people are losing it when it comes to research. What do we do to reverse this?
Well, I think the basic problem with having an inquisitive mind is that in this country, unfortunately, a lot of people are not paying attention to that. When I was growing up, I had parents who thankfully encouraged you to be inquisitive. I mean, ask questions, and they answer those questions. And so as I grew up, I started asking questions about life, about things around me. And the process itself of asking questions lead you to a point where you learn new things, you acquire, information on your own, and you are able to interpret the world better, which is what is lacking. So part of what we're doing with the Center for Sustainable Leadership is to say to young people, which we bring them from secondary schools, we engage them, and we say to them, look, start fixing things around you. Last year, we had a couple of students that we sent to organizations for them to be mentored. I mean, one of them went to one of the radio stations in Abuja, a secondary school, SS2, and the young man had, you know, glowing reviews from his managers at the radio station, which encouraged us, because it means at that level, we can begin to train people to be responsible citizens for the country.
All right, I know when you were coming here, you did something. I wasn't going to
No,
let that out.
I didn't plan to share that. You know, when I got the call that I would, the NTA would like to have a conversation with me, I said, NTA, okay. So I went online and then did a bit of research on Weekend Deal and find out what exactly goes on there. And when I found out, I found the faces of most of the producers. And so when I showed up this morning and you were like, "Oh, Miss Doc," I said, "Yeah, I've seen your face before. I know you." So I think that's part of the years of being inquisitive, asking questions. And part of what is needed at this point is we need to ask questions. Some of things that are not working in this country, why are they not working? How can we make them work? And this is the first step to moving forward.
All right, and we're always told that anybody who asks questions it does not get to lose his way eventually. No. You're also a writer.
I do.
Talk to us about your work.
I think that part of me is also part of the inquisitiveness. I wanted to be able to share most of the things that I've acquired, that I've come through in my life, in my experiences, and I felt the best way to do that is to be a good writer. And when you share, when you write things down, it forces you to think. And that's also something that's missing in the world today. A lot of people, because of the fast life that we live, hardly have time to do serious thinking. And like somebody said, thinking is the hardest job in the world. So writing forces a discipline of thinking, because you know that once this goes out, it's completely out of your control. So yeah, that's probably what led me there. And when you find things out, you want to help other people to improve. And the best way to do it, so far known to man, is by writing.
Okay, that's good. It's talking about improvement, and you are, very good with young people. How can we improve information technology, especially content-wise, with the young people?
Well, to a large extent, we have come to the world of social media. How you manage content is extremely important. And, I was having a lot of conversation on social media from yesterday today with my friends about NTA, and I said, one of the things that NTA brings to the table is that we get content that is at least adapted to our environment, or our culture. The influences that come from the use of social media needs to be managed. There are good things that young people are doing on social media that we can channel those energies into building creative societies, into building more efficient, resilient societies. And so for me, it's a useful tool that helps us to shape our future. Okay.
Let's get to meet Akin at home.
That's an interesting one. I spend time at home a lot.
And I know one of the things you do is schoolwork with
yes,
your children.
I do that a lot. I try to do homework with my kids every day. I spend my weekends practically at home. I try to avoid, outside engagements, especially on weekends, because that's the only time I have with my young kids. And this is when you build children. And this is one of the things we teach. The Center for Sustainable Leadership is saying every individual has the potential to become leaders. And the theory of change we push is based on the Bubbles theory of social change. And what does that say? What that means is, for you to have change, just think about you putting a pot of water on the fire. By the time the water wants to start to boil, you just see a bubble come from the bottom of the pot. It probably doesn't make it to the surface. It drops off. Another one comes. The next one comes. In a few minutes, one bubble makes it to the surface. And before you know it, several other bubbles show up, and then the water starts to boil. So if we're going to have change, sustainable change that propels us into the rightful place that Nigeria needs to be, every individual, right from a very young age, needs to be engaged and shown that we can make change happen. And we can see that the movement is already on. So young people, who are our primary target, we're teaching them about how to be responsible citizens, how to be, don't just sit down and say Nigeria is not working, we don't want this. No, there are things in this country that are working. A lot of things are on ground that you can engage in and look at and say, okay, if government has done this, how best can we make use of it? And that's arising from my passion for the work that I do around improving the quality of services that citizens receive. Citizens of Nigeria have come to a point where we just take anything that's thrown at us and then we go and complain on social media. Whereas there are mechanisms by which we can challenge these services at the point where we're receiving them and we're not satisfied with them.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that I have seen in the course of my work is when citizens stand up and challenge bad services, people change. And this classical example I used to give in some of my training, and it happened in Mabushi, the VIO office here. I went to collect my license and I went there like 4 times. And then the 4th day, I went to the guy. I said, do you know why everybody here is angry with you? Simply because you have not put a process in place to communicate your service. Basically, you are issuing licenses. We know there is no NEPA. We know there is probably 1 computer here. Why then do you bring 300 of us into Mabushi every day and then we are breaking each other's heads? Why don't you say, okay, because we have 50 liters of petrol, we will only capture 50 persons today. And those 50, send us a text message. We won't leave our offices. We won't come here and fight you. Only those 50 are captured. If you want to do all the other things you do, if they come after those 50, yes, you can fix them. But that is for a time. Until then, we put a stop to it. So if you have those systems in place, organizations communicate their expectations, citizens hold them accountable for those expectations, then things are going to start to change. And that's what we're saying. We're not even saying organizations of government or private should put in more money. And no, the money you currently have, let's know what you want to give us. And part of what I did, you know, working with Savicom through the support that was offered by the agency that supported me, was to say, let's have a national guideline for all public agencies in Nigeria where you can define your service and tell the people, look, if you're going to come to get this license, for example, if you meet all the criteria, the license will be ready in 6 months. So you don't complain until after 6 months.
Okay. All right. Now, I still want to get back to you at home.
Okay.
As a zoologist, do you keep animals?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I currently have a dog.
Okay.
And I've always had a pet, preferably a dog, for a long time. But I stopped at some point when my kids were still very little. But in the last couple of months, we've picked up now, and we have a dog. Yeah.
All right, that's good. You also mentioned something about training children by proxy. What does that mean?
Oh, you know, you asked me about, you know, our homework experience, and we shared a couple of those experiences behind camera. Yes, a lot of people today raise their children by proxy. What I mean is you leave them to nannies, to family members, and you are hardly there, because you justify it by saying you're making money to help them, to provide for them, and things like that. But the point I'm making with that is that at the end of the day, when you raise children by proxy, the end result isn't what you would expect to get when it shows up in your face. Because you don't have an understanding of these children, you don't know who they are. I mean, my kids tell me things that I'm shocked at them. Sometimes you're tired, you are worn out, you've had a bad day, and then somebody comes and says you are the best daddy in the whole wide world. I mean, that's something that gives you joy that you cannot, you know, explain. And so raising children by proxy leaves the society in a place where we don't even know each other. You don't know who your kids are. You don't know what motivates them. You don't know what drives them. You don't know what their passions are. And they get influences from TV, from friends, from social media, and they become individuals that you hardly know anymore.
Okay. Apart from reading and walking your dogs, like you already mentioned, how else do you relax?
Primarily, I spend time at home. I also love to listen to music.
Okay. What kind of music?
At the moment, I try to listen to old classical music, Clue, you know, Nat Cole King, and some of these songs that I would not want to mention on camera.
Like which ones now?
I just said it.
Okay, what I was going to ask you to sing them for me, but since
no, that would not be a good idea. On international TV.
It's all right. It's really wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Having this lovely chat with you.
Thank you very much.
At least we picked up something today, if nothing else. We should learn to speak out. And yesterday was actually World Day for youth to actually speak out and take action. We intend to keep doing that. Right. Thank you very much. We go back to our main studio to go meet Ruth and Suleiman. Suleiman, I know you told us yesterday that you're thinking about marrying. Our guest here today has just told us how much he spends time with his children doing homework. Are you going to be able to do that?
Definitely, definitely. And that's why anytime I travel, all the kids in my house